become richer, the poor will become poorer, and the middle class will get wiped out. And the reason why is because some people, rich people, will understand money and they will continue teaching their kids, and everybody else, the majority of people who have no idea what's happening, will continue to become poorer because they don't even see it happening.
The moment you take a paycheck, you're an employee, and that's the mindset. So my rich dad never paid me. It drove my poor dad, government employee, nuts. You gotta pay people, you gotta pay people. And Rich Dad was not saying that the paycheck was bad. He says you didn't want to be a slave to money. So as an entrepreneur, if Rich Dad folded, I just started another company. I don't need a paycheck. I don't need anybody to take care of me. If my government doesn't like me, I move to another country because they need entrepreneurs there. So the entrepreneur is not so much the business. The entrepreneur is really the mindset and the skill sets and the different set of rules. Small business does not operate in the same rules as big business. Entrepreneur is a mindset first, a skill set, and rules. And depending upon whether you're an employee or small business, the rules are different. The mindsets are different. The skill sets are different.
You inherited that, whatever it is, that poverty. You inherited that mindset, that idea of scarcity, that idea that you don't have enough money. You inherited that. Building wealth becomes a revolutionary act because now you start saying, I didn't want to go against what I was taught, right? And so I said, if I start with $25, if you can do $25 a month, that's cool. If you can do $25 a week, that's cool. But what happens is, once you start understanding the power of how your money works, you start saying, I don't need to do that because that's taken away from this. That 25 will now become $50. Guaranteed. That 50 will now become 100 because you're going to start doing more with less. The person who works out and sees that they drop 10 pounds in 2 weeks says, you know what, I'm going to go a little harder because I know if I can drop 10, I can drop 20.
The majority of people, I think, assume that it's a lack of tool set that's stopping them from getting to where they want to go, when in reality, for the majority of people, it's a lack of mindset. Most of us have access to the tool set. It's just a mindset that's lacking. The mindset is one, believing I don't have enough money. I don't have access to enough tools. I don't have access to enough things to go and do it. That if I want to go and build a business, I need this, and this. I need $10,000. I need $100,000 to go out and do that. I need to have this type of degree. I need to have this type of parent. I need to have access to these types of people in order to go out and build a successful business. If I want to go out and invest my money, I need $10,000 before I can invest for it to be worthwhile. Why would I want to start investing with $10? What is that going to do? When in reality, these small investments do build up. If you are 21 years old today, and you start by investing just $100 a month, which is just over $3 a day, and you do this consistently until you retire, until you're 65 years old, 66 years old, and you can get an average 10% return on your money. That doesn't mean it's a 10% return every single year. It's an average 10% return over the course of investment, which is the average stock market return. You will retire a millionaire.
Savers are losers and cash is trash. And yet people are, I want a high-paying job. Well, that's an obsolete idea. Get out of debt is an obsolete idea. You should learn how to get into debt, how to use debt to get rich, and they'll never teach you about taxes. The reason the 1% is way up here and the 99% are going this way is because when you print money, two things happen: inflation and taxes. It's going to crush you.
How do we start changing the mindset? And some people might be like, but why would you tell them that? Because what happens is you got to start somewhere. You got to make the game winnable in the language that we can understand. And so once you learn English, now you say, you know what, I want to learn Spanish. I want to learn French. I want to learn that because now you understand the power of words. Right. And so once they started understanding the power of the game, it was like, okay, I can play this game. And so it was powerful for me when my homies in the street started investing their money.
And it really is that shift. I call it the minority mindset, thinking differently than the majority of people, because it's doing something different. Most of us are taught just to be consumers. We're never taught to do anything else. And think about the last time your teachers taught you about the importance of investing your money. You have to be willing to go out of your way to learn how some of these things work, because if you don't, you're just going to be a pawn in the system. And it's very unfortunate. It sucks. And this is where I'm trying to help provide that education, because these are things I never grew up learning. These are things that I wish somebody would have told me
Like once you start understanding the fundamentals, you give yourself power because you now understand, like you said, you see how the machine works, right? And so most people look at the machine and marvel and say most people look at the stock market. Most 98% of the people who I know look at the stock market and say, yo, that's not a game I can play. I'm staying away from it. And so the way it's set up is, the world is set up, well, listen, cool, I don't even want you to play it. Just give me your money, I'll play it for you. So when we look at like banks, like we understand that banks don't necessarily work in our favor, right? So banks only give us 0.05% interest on the money we have there. Well, we can get 8% just by putting our money in the index fund. So why would I just sit my money in the bank and let the bank make all the money? Because all they're gonna do is invest the money for you. So they now operating as the plug. They operate now as the man who, I'm gonna front you this, I'm gonna make my money, I'm gonna take the cut, I'm gonna give you just enough to keep coming back. I wanna go to the plug. Who is the plug? The stock market, right? And so once I understood the fundamentals of like, the most important thing too is we don't understand how money works. That's a whole different language in its own. The relationship with money in my community is you make money just enough to pay bills. And so once you get tired of paying bills, you say, you know what? I need to treat myself to something, right? No matter if I got to go in debt, no matter if I need to treat myself to something to take this misery away. So you treat yourself to something that you can't afford at the time, right? But it makes you feel good in the moment. And so because it makes you feel good, you say, you know what? I'm living. This is a reprieve from everyday struggle. Let me get back on the hamster wheel. And so the sacrifice now becomes hard because now you're saying, I gotta work and never get that reprieve. I'm not willing to do that. Right? And so that's the mindset comes in and say, everybody around me had the same problem. No one represented the solution. So if I don't change something, I'm only going to end up like everybody else I know.
When we have obsolete ideas, we get obsolete results. So what's happening for most people, the idea of going to school, getting a job, working hard, saving money, getting out of debt, buying your house because it's an asset, investing for the long term, is obsolete. The world has changed.
Where should people be putting their money? I know there's no one size fits all.
So I'll tell you where I invest my money. I invest my money in 5 places. My business, market briefs, and other startups. I invest my money in real estate, invest my money in stocks, invest some money in cryptocurrency, and invest some money in physical gold. Now, before, my active investment, main one, was real estate. That was the thing that I loved and the thing that I really understood. So anytime I had extra cash, I would go out and buy rental properties. But now I'm doing less and less of that so I can have more money to invest in my own company, market briefs. I pay myself a salary. Out of that salary, pretty much all of that gets passively invested. It gets invested into stocks, crypto, and physical gold. So what does that mean, right? Well, in stocks, I have a system where every Wednesday, you can pick whatever day, it doesn't really matter. But for me, it's Wednesday. My money is automatically pulled out of my bank account and it's invested into a few different ETFs. So an ETF is an exchange traded fund, and you can think of it like a group of stocks. So instead of going out and investing in Amazon, one company, and then hoping Amazon grows, you invest in a group of companies. Like some will give you exposure to 30, some will give you exposure to 500, some will give you exposure to thousands. There's a bunch of different ETFs out there, and there's ETFs for a bunch of different things. Like one example that I invest in is the S&P 500 ETF. The S&P 500 is a group of the biggest 500 companies on the stock market. And so when you invest in this ETF, you're literally or indirectly / directly investing in the biggest 500 companies on the stock market without individually investing in all of them. You invest in one ticker symbol and it gives you exposure to all of them. So you're in essence investing in the companies that make America, America. You're investing in America. You can invest in specific sectors, technology, healthcare. You can invest in companies around the world, emerging markets. And so you can find these ETFs, again, Google search, YouTube, you'll find kind of the things that you'll see what you're interested in, buy what you're spending your money on. And so that's one thing that I do. I have a few ETFs. Every Wednesday I'm buying that. And then I have my cryptocurrencies. So for me, I think cryptocurrency is going to have a lot of value in the future. but I also believe it's going to be very volatile. I think we're going to see a lot of, just like anything else, there's a lot of dumb money in crypto. And, anytime you have all this money that was printed, right, money's going to want to go to dumb places. And so I think that we're going to see some cryptocurrencies go under. And again, what is that going to do? It's going to create panic, it's going to create volatility, it's going to create fear. So, especially when the newer asset class, you have to be willing to understand that and withstand that. And so, I understand that, I'm not the most educated person in crypto, but I understand the basics. I believe in the value of the blockchain. So I invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a couple of the smaller coins, the things that I believe in, and that's happening every day. And then I invest in physical gold. Every month, I have some cash going to buy some physical gold every month. And so this has happening on autopilot. It's automatic, it's passive, and it's consistent. And it's just a simple way for me to invest.
So the real entrepreneur has an internal focus. That if they fall down, they say, oh, this is good, because I'm going to go up higher. The average person will fall down and say, oh, I'm going to take some Prozac. Or somebody has a mistake, oh, the mistakes don't matter. Well, mistakes matter. It means you didn't know something. But a real entrepreneur, whether they fall down, they always can go up. They can stand back up and go higher. That no matter what happens to them, they get stronger and better and smarter and happier. But a person with a weak internal mindset is that they're so afraid of what happens, it generally happens. Like, people who are afraid of losing their jobs, they generally lose their jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
everything comes through you.
Yeah, so the entrepreneur first job is to control inside here, not outside there.